It took tweets from parents and then, crucially, their boosting by Marcus Rashford to make this government act on the meagre parcels being sent out to Britain's school children. And if there was any doubt Marcus Rashford is the nation's real opposition leader, he tweeted the following today. Just had a good conversation with the Prime Minister. He has assured me that he is committed to correcting the issue with the food hampers and that a full review of the supply chain is taking place. He agrees that images of hampers being shared on Twitter are unacceptable. Boris Johnson got in on the act. He quote tweeted Rashford and said, "I totally agree with you, Marcus Rashford. These food parcels do not meet the standards we set out, and we have made it clear to the company involved that this is disgraceful. The company concerned has rightly apologised and agreed to reimburse those affected." Now, this is all very well. I'm glad that Boris Johnson has come to his senses, and there will be some pressure on these companies to either put more food in the baskets, or schools will be told, if you want, you can get the vouchers if that's what the parents want. But this U-turn, as with all of them, it's not a one-off event. This is not the first time that action from Rashford was needed to intervene and to make sure that our government paid sufficient due to the welfare of Britain's kids. Of course, back in June, the government had planned to end free school meals for students over the summer holidays. It was only after Rashford's intervention they were forced into a U-turn. Now, as is often the case during this pandemic, Piers Morgan did a brilliant job this morning skewering Matt Hancock on why he had opposed basic measures to ensure won't go hungry until Marcus Rashford got very publicly involved.
Really glad that we're able to send out food for those who receive free school meals when schools are in. And I'm really glad that we're able to do that when schools are out.
If you're that glad, can I just ask you a difficult question? Why did you vote against it?
Well, I'm really glad we were able to put it into place.
Yeah, but if you're that glad about being able to put it into place, again, why did you, as Health Secretary, vote against this?
Well, because the reason that I'm glad now is because we've been able to sort that out and put it in place.
Well, the reason you're glad now is that you got shamed.
No, thanks to you.
Let's be honest, you got shamed into it by a football player, a young football player with a conscience, who managed to prick the conscience of you and the government. Do you regret now, given how glad you are that it's now happening, do you regret voting against it?
Well, of course, I'm pleased that we're making sure that.
That wasn't the question. I just asked if you regretted. But hang on, it's a very important question because you wouldn't have done it without Marcus Rashford campaigning. My question for you is, given how glad you now are that it's happening, do you regret voting against it? It's a yes or no.
Well, as I say, I'm really glad that it's happening now.
But do you regret it? Do you regret voting against it?
Well, I'll put it this way. In the first lockdown, we took this action. And now, as you say, we're in
Health Secretary, you only have to say yes or no, whether you regret it. You either regret it or you don't.
Well, I'm really glad that the situation's been resolved.
So you regret voting against it?
I'm really glad it's been resolved and we've sorted it out. And I'm going to use my own words to describe my own feelings on this one.
So you won't answer the question?
Well, it's that I'm answering the question, and I'm really glad that we've sorted.
Well, let's just hope going forward we don't rely. Let's just hope we don't have to rely, as we have to again this week, on Marcus Rashford to once again expose the iniquity of this system, because these kids are in lockdown, they're suffering, they're hungry, and they need support, and they need proper support from you as Health Secretary and the government.
What a coward. He's the Health Secretary. He's one of the most important politicians in this country. He had the power to make sure that kids didn't go hungry over the summer. And he could have put forward himself that there would be vouchers given to kids over the holidays during the pandemic. But instead, what did he do? He opposed it. In Parliament, the Tories were whipped to oppose Labour's suggestion that we give vouchers to kids over the summer holidays. So he is basically saying, I'm glad that I didn't get what I wanted. I'm glad that someone defeated me. I'm glad I lost because I'm so evil that if I'd won, some really bad things would have happened. Yet he can't say he regrets it. It's just, I don't regret what I wanted. I'm just glad that I didn't get what I wanted. It's bizarre. It's cowardly. Aaron, I want to bring you in on that excruciatingly awkward interview.
Like you say, the guy's the Health Secretary, Michael. You know, he's not a junior minister. He's probably one of the sort of, alongside Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson, I'd say he's probably the most identifiable politician for the general public right now. And he just comes across just appallingly. And like you say, Firstly, it's incoherent, what he's saying. Doesn't make any sense. But secondly, the Tories love to talk to working people. Take some responsibility. Take some responsibility. Take some ownership over your decisions and how you voted. You could just say, yeah, I don't think that was the right call. You're a politician. You can say things in ways which, perhaps are a little bit more palatable to the powers that be, to the chief whip, to Boris Johnson, right? To his various advisors, to Rishi Sunak. But he just comes across just like a little snake. And it applies to so many politicians. But I think Matt Hancock in that particular moment was supremely snake-like. I mean, it's just embarrassing. I don't think Labour are doing a great job as opposition, but you look at the Tories polling 40%, high 30s, do you think, who the hell are these people? To look at Matt Hancock in that moment and go, yep, that guy's doing a great job. Yeah, really, really professional, responsible guy. It's shambolic. It is utterly shambolic. How can the health secretary say that? He's the person who's in charge of this country's health. By the way, he's obviously doing an appalling job because we've literally just passed the death toll of 100,000 people, But my God, how many car crash moments do you need with one guy before his political career is over? 10 years ago, one thing like that was it. Matt Hancock, gone from sort of public life. It's going to take years to recover from that. These are happening every day. We can't keep up. There are so many. That's the first time I've even seen that, heard about it, I hadn't seen it. And yet there doesn't seem to be any sort of major political overhead. A lot of that is because people have goodwill to the government because, of course, it's a national crisis and COVID was happening. This isn't entirely because of them. But I think also that's giving them a bit too much latitude. You can't have politicians not even owning the decisions they make like a month, 2 months ago. Unbelievable.